Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I am joined by the incredible Lucas, who is a coaching client of mine for 12 weeks, and he's actually back for a second round of more coaching. And Lucas, in your 12 weeks, you did a hell of a lot, my friend. You let go of the limiting belief that you're some special, unfixable case. You had a few awesome sexual experiences. You developed an abundance mindset with women and dating in general. You really embraced honesty and authenticity in dating and sex. You let go of a ton of guilt and shame and became a lot more peaceful and happy. You embraced the fact that you're a big anime nerd and you started screening for girls who are into anime and cosplay. You started lifting weights in the gym again, and you're now at a point where you're starting to explore kink and really get into that exciting side of things. And you got so much out of the coaching program that, like I said, you immediately stayed on for another 12 weeks of coaching. How are you feeling after all of that?
Feels weird to hear it read out like that. I feel normal, but I guess I try and do a lot of gratitude now and think about everything that's happened, and it's pretty amazing. I'm extremely glad that I finally pulled the trigger and joined.
Yeah, it's funny how we struggle to give ourselves credit for everything that we've done. I do the same. I'll go a week and I'll go, it was an okay week. But if I actually list it all out bit by bit, like I just did there, sharing all of your wins in the 12 weeks, you look at it and you're like, oh, wait, I actually did quite a lot, but why don't I necessarily feel like I did? And that's just a gratitude thing and a practice thing. But you did a lot, my friend.
It's definitely a practice. It's something you put effort to and do, especially in the beginning, you do consciously. You have to stop yourself and be like, wait, what have I done? Oh, yeah, I did that. And feel that gratitude. And it becomes more automatic. Like we talked about this during the coaching. It does become more of an automatic habit. But if you're just starting this, it's worth putting conscious effort into it, I think.
Yeah, it's incredibly helpful because how many times have you seen in the coaching program, and you probably even had this yourself in the first couple of weeks, you just feel like you're making no progress? One of the biggest things we do in the coaching program, obviously we're helping people make more progress, but a lot of the time we're just holding up a mirror to people and saying, bro, you are already making progress. You're just not giving yourself credit for it. And that is contributing to your feeling of helplessness and your feeling of making no progress and your frustration and wanting to quit. You're making progress. You're just not recognizing it, and you're definitely not celebrating it. So that's a big part of the coaching, celebrating daily wins, weekly wins, monthly wins, and showing people or holding that mirror up to them and saying, you're doing a good job. Keep going.
And I think this is the reason a ton of people burn out and give up immediately. It's this exact kind of phenomenon where you do something and then give yourself no credit and then come up with a story why it's not working and why it's pointless and then quit. And it's pretty crazy even thinking about the guys in the group were like, I'm doing 15 approaches a night. Like I'm a piece of shit and I'm useless and it's never going anywhere. And we're just like, that's incredible that you're doing that. Yeah. You realize nobody does that. That's amazing. In the beginning, the first arc of my coaching was the shame stuff. And that was a lot of internal work. And you kind of I don't look any different. I don't have some incredible tangible achievement, I felt like. So it's something you have to give yourself credit for. And you have to kind of have that emotional self-awareness to be like, wow, I do feel better.
Yeah, a lot of the changes in the coaching program are internal. To be very clear, the thing that we work most with people on is mindset. And in the process, you will have sex, you will build a business, you will make more money, you will get more friends and all of that. But those are a consequence of working on the self-love, self-esteem, mindset, motivation, and all of that sort of stuff. And you absolutely were a guilt addict. I mean, you said it best. You made a post at the end of your time in the coaching, at the end of your first round. You said, before coaching, I was a guilt addict. It was my main self-motivation and control tool. Guilt is something I basically experienced constantly. And shame as well in there too. Shame about how and who you were as a person. So how did that feel, going from shame and guilt all the time to you still have some guilt and shame, but a lot of that has gone? What has that process been like?
Yeah, I guess it was first realizing the constant guilt. I didn't really think about it like that. I thought, well, this is how I do anything. This is why I start working in the morning. This is why I go to bed on time. Everything was just, I'm not asleep yet. That's bad. I haven't started work yet. Oh my God, I have to do work. I'm screwing up. I'm a terrible employee. I have to start work. Even dating. I mean, I'll honestly, why I came here was guilt over, I had just turned 30 and have no success with women. It's been a really long time. There's something wrong with me. I'm doing everything wrong. I'm messing my life up. So it was just something, and it's such a paralyzing thing to feel all the time. Like you blew my mind initially with the map of consciousness stuff, and you showed me, look at this chart. What are the two bottom ones? Guilt and shame. And I was just like, and I've watching your content for a while, but I somehow just missed that, and was just like, that was insanely mind blowing. Like, because when you're in the bottom of that chart, like I said, it's just paralyzing. These are awful emotions to try and, you can motivate yourself with them, but you don't feel very good. You're always operating from negative to zero instead of zero to positive. You know what I mean? If you're super guilty, you're not doing something, then you start, you kind of make that negative feeling go away, but then you're just at baseline. So just, it's not very happy. It doesn't make you really want to reach out and push farther. I always felt like I was behind and trying to catch up. I'm doing something bad. I have to just make up for it right now and keep, and, you know, hold the line. So realizing that was very important.
Guilt and shame and fear as well, they're not bad. I won't sit here and say they're bad, because that will just add more guilt and shame and fear. Oh God, I'm doing something bad. I'm using guilt and shame to motivate myself. Oh no, I'm bad.
Yeah, we talked about meta guilt, you know, guilt about guilt.
But guilt, shame, and fear are self-perpetuating, and they are endless, and they are greedy. What I mean by that is, we think that if I'm going to use guilt and shame and fear to motivate myself, eventually those feelings will be satiated. In other words, they will go away when I achieve my goal or I make more progress. No, they fucking won't. You will find more excuses to be guilty and feel ashamed and have fear about the next thing. Any person who has endured or suffered from deep anxiety, like clinically diagnosed anxiety, will tell you the anxiety doesn't go away when I listen to it. In other words, as in when I do what it tells me to do. So if you're anxious about the future and money, you earning $1 million and having $1 million in the bank doesn't make the anxiety go away. You don't suddenly go, I did it. I have enough of a safety net. I'm chill. No, now you have anxiety about like, well, what if someone steals my money? Well, what if I lose my job? Well, what if I get injured and I have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to feel better? Well, what if I get cancer? Well, what if my friends are only with me because I'm a millionaire now? Well, that person over there has more than $1 million. Is $1 million even enough to retire on these days? Holy shit. What if I get scammed? And then the anxiety just keeps perpetuating itself. It will find excuses to come out. And the same with guilt and shame and just fear in general, which is anxiety. And so we think that guilt and shame and fear are good motivators, and they can be temporarily. But the thing is, like you said, they don't ever get fixed, they don't ever go away, and you don't ever really enjoy the self-improvement process or achievement or your life. It's not fun to feel guilty and ashamed.
And that kind of leads right into like this super important critical insight in that doing and achieving are more independent of how you feel about it than you might give it credit for, right? Like you could just be great or be happy and feel great about what you're doing and then do something, or you could feel guilty that you're not doing it and then do something, and you at the end you might get the exact same result and do the same thing, but on one of them you feel great the whole time and on one you feel bad the whole time.
Yeah.
I think that's a super important thing to realize about your mindset.
I have had people that have achieved the tiniest little steps ever. Like maybe they're depressed and all they did was go outside for 10 minutes. I've worked with depressed and suicidal people, and maybe all they did was go outside for 10 minutes and walk around and then come back. And they feel like that was climbing Mount Everest for them. And we celebrate, and they just feel like, holy shit, I never thought I could do that. I can't believe I've done that. That's how I felt when I first started getting help and working through my own suicide and depression. I went outside one time for like 30 minutes and just walked around in a grocery store. There were people around. I had agoraphobia, so that was a real challenge. As I was walking back home, I called my mother and I was like, you are never going to believe where I just was. I'm in public. And she was like, honey, that's amazing. And we celebrated that. Someone else might hear that and be like, the fuck are you talking about? I go to the grocery store all the time. I just was there this morning. But I celebrated that, and some of my clients have too. And then I have worked with people. There's a couple of people in the group who we've been working on them right now to help them celebrate their big wins. You said it before. There are a couple of people in the coaching group right now who are approaching 15 people a night. They are walking up to 15 strangers that they don't know and saying, you're very attractive, you're pretty, can I kiss you? Would you like to date me? Do you want to hang out with me? Which is insane. That in itself is a statement. You walked up to 15 strangers you don't know and you hit on them, and you were honest about it. You didn't do tactics. You just fucking said it. Holy shit. And yet, because they're not practiced yet with giving themselves credit and letting go of that guilt and that shame, they don't see that as a win. They're like, yeah, but I didn't have sex. And then they have sex and they're like, yeah, but she wasn't as hot as she could have been. And I've seen this perpetuate itself forever. I've worked with a couple of clients for a couple of years, like 2 guys in particular that I can think of that I worked with for several years. They were coaching with me for several years, and it took several years before they could finally start to listen to what I was saying and give themselves credit for what they were achieving. And these were guys who started out as inexperienced, never had sex, never held hands, never kissed anyone. And they said, I will be happy if I can just kiss a girl. Then they kiss a girl and they go, no, I'm not happy yet because I don't know how to be happy because I'm ignoring and neglecting my happiness. I'll be happy when I have sex or when I go on a date and have sex. They go on a date, they have sex. No, it doesn't count. That could have just been a fluke. I'll be happy when she has sex with me a few times. She has sex a few times. No, I'll be happy when she says she loves me. She says, I love you. No, it doesn't really count because I'm still feeling strong emotions and guilt and shame and fear, and I don't know how to celebrate it. And it took a couple of years of me just gently reminding them, hey, don't neglect the happiness. Don't neglect the celebration. Don't neglect gratitude. And then finally they get to a point where they almost have this big epiphany where they're like, holy shit, I'm still not happy. I've done all these things, and the whole time, Andy and the coaches, you were telling me that it wasn't the goals themselves that would make me happy, but the celebration of them, the appreciation of that success, the gratitude of that success. I think you're right. I'm going to start practicing gratitude. They start practicing gratitude. A month later, they're like, wow, I'm actually deeply satisfied and happy as a human being now. Yeah. And so we sell our happiness down the road and we say, I will be happy when I achieve these goals. It's like, no, you'll be happy. Like you said, the minute you decide that you're allowed to be happy, and it really is just a permission thing. In other words, I'm allowed to be happy while I work on the goals. I don't have to wait for the finish line before I'm happy. I can be happy as I approach the finish line. And you'll get more done then.
Mm-hmm.
Like you will literally achieve more if you're happy while you work on it.
Exactly.
But like in your case, you were using guilt and shame to work on your goals.
It fuels you. It makes you feel better about the process, and it makes you. That's why I have incredible respect for guys who do just grind through it, feeling negative about it, because that's amazing. I would just quit, and I did just quit. You're playing on super hard mode. Like I even kind of identified this because I tried and quit before, and in my very first, when I was applying for the coaching, and it was like, well, what do you want? I literally wrote, I want to do this and not hate it. I tried dating before, and it was just like I hated it and it sucked, and I didn't really articulate why or even understand, but it just wasn't pleasant because I was just beating myself up the whole time. It was never good enough. I wasn't getting results fast enough, so it was like a negative feedback loop, and I just stopped because it's not fun. It sucks. Like you don't want to.
Yeah.
I didn't want to live like that. It's easier just to ignore it and bury it, but it always came back. So that's what's been so special about this time is like feeling great about it and being part of the group. Like you said, we really work hard on celebrating the tiniest things. Like I went out probably a dozen times, just because of my location, I had to drive a little bit when I was working on trying to get that social freedom and do some like approaching and talking to girls in real life. I went out a dozen times and didn't talk to anybody. Like I would just go out a few times a week in the beginning of coaching, walk around, talk to a few employees casually, and then leave. And would just keep going. And I worked really hard on feeling like those were huge wins. It's something in the coaching you emphasize. That is a win. You went out and tried. You have to think about that as a win and just focus on your input. And I did eventually, finally was able to approach, and it was as bad as you'd prepared me for. I was extremely nervous and locked up. I was so nervous that like my face was like contorted in some strange expression. My whole body, my heart rate's like 160. And then she's like, I have a boyfriend. I'm like, okay, good. And just turn around and just walk away as fast as possible. But then the second one was way easier. And when I went down to visit Ed, that was awesome. I got like 10 in. We can talk about that story later, but that was very cool.
Yeah, you did a pretty good job of learning to celebrate the wins and letting go of the guilt. And I want to read out something that you said. Andy blew my mind within the very first call with the map of consciousness and telling me, and that's okay, after every guilty statement and feeling that I would have. I now feel this immense weight off my shoulders, and I live so much more peacefully. So first of all, that's incredibly beautiful as a statement itself, just to think about the fact that you feel like there's this weight off your shoulders and you're more peaceful. But I want to really highlight something that you found very useful that I think I said to you on like the first call, which is whenever you're feeling guilt or shame, or anyone listening, you're feeling fear or anger or whatever, you're feeling some strong emotions. If you just say, and that's okay, at the end of the sentence, holy shit, a lot of the pain goes away. Like you say, I'm feeling a lot of guilt right now that I haven't made the most of my life, and I'm 30 and I've wasted my life, and that's okay. Yeah, but I'm feeling strong emotions, and it's okay. It's okay to feel strong emotions. Yeah, but I'm a loser, and that's okay. And your brain will resist that. You'll fight that. You'll be like, no, it's not okay to be a loser. It's bad. And it's like, I'm allowed to say that it's bad, and that's okay. I'm allowed to fight this and resist this and say, I'm not okay. And that is okay. In other words, that's a choice I'm allowed to make, and it's okay to make that choice. We don't have to label it as bad. We don't have to add more guilt and shame and fear. A lot of people listening, a lot of our audience, use guilt and shame and fear and anger and all of those emotions to beat themselves up, really to just pummel on themselves. And they don't realize they're doing it, just like you didn't realize you were doing it. You think that you're trying to motivate yourself, but there are ways to motivate yourself in an uplifting, positive way instead of a negative way where you push yourself down and make success more difficult. It is way harder to have dating success if you show up to every approach or every interaction or every conversation or every date or every sexual experience with self-judgment and judgment of the other person, fear, guilt, and shame. It's not impossible, but it's a lot harder to have a great interaction and build a connection with someone when you're steeped in shame and guilt. But if you can show up even just being neutral, let alone being excited and full of joy and love and excitement and all of that, then holy fuck, this whole thing goes a lot more easily. Because it's such an obvious statement, but would you rather go on a date with someone who's full of shame and guilt about who they are as a person and really afraid and angry? Or would you rather show up to someone who's pretty peaceful and happy and loving? It's like, yeah, no shit, I would like the second option. But we don't think about what we're bringing to the table in dating and business and all of that. And if you're bringing a very guilt-ridden, anxious, shameful human, to the dating experience or the business experience, yeah, that's literally just less that you have to offer. And you don't have to then feel ashamed of that and be like, oh, see, I am full of shame. I shouldn't go out there and try. It's like, that's not what I'm saying. But if we can just start moving ourselves up a little bit into some of those higher level emotions, and that's a process, it takes practice. That's kind of the point of the coaching program. When we feel those higher level emotions, people just want to be around us more. They want to give us more of what we want, and we want to give ourselves more of what we want, and we don't fucking quit. And like you said, you felt like, you did quit a few times, right? In the past, you felt frustrated and you quit.
Yeah, like over the years, it's been like many years. I had a girlfriend in high school and then was single for my entire 20s, with a few odd times of picking up Tinder and trying it with really bad pictures and an even worse mindset about it. And would just not, I'd swipe. The hottest girl wouldn't match with me. If I did get any matches, I would try with like one or two, and then they would sort of fizzle out or something. Basically do the opposite of play the numbers game. And then I would just use it as evidence to beat myself up. I'm like a loser. I must be too ugly. I'm not getting any matches. It's over for me. This is like humiliating that I tried this and it didn't work. And it was just emotionally so hard because every time I would pick up the app, I'd be reminded of how I'm not good enough. And I sympathize. I know I see a lot of guys say this online. I really can understand if you have not very good pictures, which you honestly, because you haven't really had time. Have you done a photo shoot yourself? Probably not. But if you don't have very good pictures and you get no matches, it's the opposite of validation.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are honestly trapped in this. I felt this very strongly, and I just quit because it was so unpleasant. And I just decided, I'm like 27. This isn't working. I'm just getting old, whatever. I'll just try and not think about this for a few more years. And I repeated that cycle probably twice over like a 5 or 6 year period before finally, luckily finding Andy, finding his content, listening and deciding. But I still, even listening for 2 years, understood everything intellectually, but I still didn't really take any of the steps.
Your main step was joining the coaching. Yeah, that was like your first big step.
Accountability to the group and my accountability partner. and feeling like you're on a team and they're celebrating your wins and you're celebrating theirs. It was really, I was a very lone wolf guy. I basically hid this from everybody and tried to do it 100% myself, which is another way of playing on hard mode. So,
Yeah, it's what a lot of people do, dude. They're doing it out alone. Let's talk a little bit about the sex stuff. How long had it been since you had sexual experience or sex?
okay, well, it's a little bit, the actual story is a little complicated. You could just think of it like basically it had been since I was 23 to 30. So that would be about 7 years of basically zero. I did have one hookup in there a few years ago because that's when I first found Andy's content and the Tinder guide, which I tried to follow, and it did work. I think I just got lucky in the first few, but I had a lot of weird emotions about it. I ended up just quitting right after that because I don't think I really addressed a lot of. It's long. I felt really. I was so. That's when I was like, that gets into like the shame stuff. I was so ashamed of my interests. I didn't want her to come over. I didn't want her to know anything about me. So I had a lot of those issues and basically pushed her away. And then I went another 2 or 3 years of not trying before this effort.
That's quite a long gap, yeah. And then when you're in the coaching program, I think you had 2 main sexual experiences. Like in your first 12 weeks of coaching? Yeah, which is pretty insane to go basically 7 years where I've only hooked up once. And then in 12 weeks, 3 months. So I guess 7 years only hooking up once. And then in 3 months, I have 2 sexual experiences. That's insane. Like, that's already insane. And that's with all the self-doubt and the shame and the guilt and all of that. I would say most of what you worked through in the coaching was mindset and your own shame and all of that sort of stuff. So the fact that you had 2 sexual experiences is pretty freaking incredible. And I think more than that, it's how open and honest and vulnerable you were. And you've now technically had 3 sexual experiences. But how honest you've been with all of them. You've been completely upfront, even when you were fucking terrified. And we can talk about honesty and how scary that was for you to just be real. And we can talk about how we got you to a point where you're now just like, hey, can I kiss you? You're hot, you're pretty, can I kiss you? And how much of a struggle that was. We can talk about the girl that you met in the park that you had a little bit of a fool around with, and you fingered her in a park and you guys had a great sexual experience. I already myself did a video on that. Maybe I'll link that on the screen. But yeah, man, like, how have these experiences, maybe we'll sum them all up as like, just call it sexual experience. How has the process of this sexual experience that you've been going through been for you? I know you've had some ups and downs, you've had some challenges and all of that, but overall, how's it been?
Oh man, like, it's such a relief because I came to the group feeling like this is impossible. I was dealing with a lot of feelings of, I'm 30, it's over, this is impossible, I'm too old. Like, I just basically for years have been feeling like this is never happening again. So to know and have proof that it was possible, and if I just took action and it's not over for me, was another just insane weight off me. This kind of like dread I'd been feeling for so long to go away. So, and yeah, and we had fun, had some fun experiences. The other thing for me that was mind blowing was I really took your honesty stuff and ran with it. I think I really pushed the honesty because I never liked the games. I am just kind of an honest person. I don't like being super coy about things. It felt like this really difficult game and like this delicate dance you have to play where both people aren't being honest. I never really liked that, but I thought you just literally had to. I'm like, what do you?
Yeah, most people think they have to. Yeah.
So and I resisted it a little bit, but when you're like, I remember, I'll never forget going on my first date in the program pretty early in. And it was a good date, but at the end, we were splitting up and I went to kiss her. We're on like I was in like downtown, we're on a busy city street, and I just like swoop in to try and kiss her, and she like dodges me really fast by pulling her head away.
Yeah, because you attacked her. This is what like most guys do on dates,
like,
right?
just there's a split second of the conversation stops, and I'm like going for it really fast.
You just like launch your face at her, and you're like, ugh! And you got your little, and because that's what you see in movies. The guy just like launches himself at the girl, and now it works in a movie because they're both paid actors who the script demands that they kiss each other in that moment.
And it does work sometimes in real life,
sure.
But I told the group about it, and you're like, kind of, we're just like, what are you doing? Like, why? Like, in a loving way, as you do, but we're still just basically like, why did you just randomly lunge at her face without saying anything? Like, that's kind of just a crazy thing to do. And I'm like, is it? And you're like, just tell, like, you told me, text her right now, and say, hey, I just wanted to kiss you, but I didn't say anything. Like, sorry about that if it was awkward. And then she like responded really well to that. I was like, oh yeah, no, I just wasn't really comfortable doing it public. That was the only reason. Like, she wanted to kiss me, but like, so if you said next time, just ask, can I kiss you? And I did that on every subsequent date and every time I met anybody, and it's had 100% success rate so far. And they get a big grin on their face. And
what will really blow your mind is, and this is unfalsifiable, we don't have any proof of this, but this is a hypothetical. There is a decent chance that with that woman that you just like launched at her face to try and kiss, if you had said to her, yo, you're so hot, can I kiss you? There's a decent chance that she kind of looks around and she thinks for a little bit and she's like, okay. It's just that, like, you launch at someone's face and that, whoa, like, what? Wait, I wasn't ready. And again, sometimes, a lot of times, people will kiss you if you just launch your face at them and kiss them. But there are a lot of times when they're just like, whoa, I thought we were just talking. I wasn't ready for that. And then you're like, well, do you want to kiss me? She's like, yeah. I guess I just freaked out because you just, like, attacked me. I didn't know if you were going to bite me or kiss me or fucking head bump me. Like, yeah, it just kind of comes out of nowhere. And that's romantic in the movies. It looks incredible. It's romantic when it works, and it does work a lot of the time. But I have found, like you said, just saying, yo, you're hot, can I kiss you? 99% of the time they say yeah. And then they kiss you, and you're like, fucking hell, can I just ask for what I want? And then you say, do you want to come back to my place? And she's like, what will we do at your place? And you go, okay, what if I just try practicing radical honesty? Well, I'd love to do whatever you're comfortable with. We can make out, we can fool around, we can have sex if we want to go all the way. Like, what do you want to do? And she's like, sure, I'd like that. And you're like, wait, what? I just asked for sex and she said yes. I did a podcast about this a while ago where I said, what happens if I literally say to women, do you want to have sex with me? Or can I have sex with you? Or do you want to have sex? Because even the people that practiced radical honesty, like pickup artists and dating coaches, even the ones that practice crazy radical honesty like we do, still believe, and I've heard other people say this to me, you can't just say, would you like to have sex with me? You have to say it in a like socially acceptable way. You have to say like, do you want to watch Netflix and chill? Do you want to come back to my place and have a drink? And so I put the message out there. No, you can be as honest as you fucking want. You can literally say, yo, do you want to have sex? And some people will say yes. Some people will say no. Some people might say, you have to say that you can't just say that. And you're like, but I did just say that. Would you like to, yes or no? She's like, but you have to say it in a politically correct, like socially calibrated way. And it's like, I don't want to do that. Do you want to do it? Yes or no? If you don't want to, beautiful. If you do, great. And so.
And there's something so masculine about that too.
No, bro. Do you know how many people say when I first start talking about this radical honesty shit, they're like, but what if she thinks like I'm a loser if I say, can I kiss you? Like, but that doesn't sound masculine. Like, I'm asking permission.
It doesn't come off like a loser. They think it's super cool if you're like, hey, like, can I kiss you? Every girl has been like blushing, like, loves it. Like, you don't feel like a loser saying that. You know, especially if you've done it a few times and you feel confident, it feels congruent saying that to you.
Yeah. Especially if you say the bit that I just said at the start, like, yo, you're so pretty. Can I kiss you? Or, holy shit, you are so sexy. Can I kiss you? Like, you have no idea how that comes across until, like you said, you've done it a few times. And yeah, you're right. The girls do blush. Sometimes they will, like, stammer. This happens a lot. They'll stammer and they go, what? And you're like, I said, can I kiss you? And they're like, okay. And then you kiss them and you're like, how was that? And they're like, that was nice. Like, they blush. They turn into like a little girl. They turn into like, holy shit, I can't believe how masculine he is. I've had so many women say, that was so unbelievably sexy that you said, can I kiss you? Especially if you then do that, or if you're that honest with the sex stuff and you say, like I said, you just say, do you want to come back to my place and we can make out, we can fool around, we can have sex, like whatever we feel like we want to do, we can just do that. She's like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, why is he so confident with sex? You give the impression, even if it's not true, that you've had a lot of sex. Because the person that's had a ridiculous amount of sex is very nonchalant about sex. You still enjoy it. It's fun. It's exciting. But, like, it's just a thing. It's like saying, do you want to go grab pizza? Do you want to come back to my place and have sex? Do you want a glass of water? Like, those are all equal to the person that's had a lot of sex. And so if you can be upfront and honest and just say, yo, can I kiss you? Well, yo, do you want to come back to my place and fool around a bit? We can make out a bit. You literally look like you've had so much sex that you're like a fucking rock star or some shit, and she's just some groupie that you're like, do you want to have sex? And to the point where we've had plenty of coaching clients, and you are one of these people.
I was going to bring that up.
You're that honest, and you say, yo, can I kiss you? And she's like, oh, okay. And you kiss her, and then you're like, yo, do you want to come back to my place? And she's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Are you a fuck boy? Are you a player? And guys in the coaching group are like, no, like, I'll be honest with you. I haven't had sex in like 5 years, or I've only had 3 sexual partners. And a lot of the women, one of the women that you slept with, they're like, you're lying. There's no way you're not a player. Like, how would a person inexperienced just be like, can I kiss you? And so you come across as incredibly fucking hyper masculine.
It's like, guys, like, think about this. You're worried that you can't be honest because it will make you look like a loser, or you're not going to be smooth. And if you're completely honest, it works so well that it like almost goes the other way. And they're like, okay, like, how many girls are you sleeping with right now? Like, she's literally what she said to me. Like, okay, like, I bet you did this last night. I'm just like, it's been like,
it's been 7 years. It's been 7 years. I've had one hookup in 7 years. I don't do this all the time. She's like, nah, you're lying. Like the way you asked me, do you want to come back to my place, was so utterly honest that only a person who's done it a lot of times would be able to do that and say, no, all of you can do that. But yeah, there is that big fear. What if I come across as weak if I ask? It's like, you literally come across like you're so fucking empathetic. Also, I love how empathy gets mislabeled as weak. Like, you're just being a nice person saying, can I kiss you? Like, that's a nice thing to do. But it gets labeled as like weak or pathetic, or like, what if she thinks less of me? Okay, if a woman genuinely thinks less of you because you're considerate, I probably wouldn't date that person. Like, I'll just straight up say that right now, because that person probably isn't going to be considerate to you. And she might just do something that you don't want her to do. Maybe not sexually, but she might just do something you don't want because she's saying consideration is weak. Asking before you do something is pathetic. Okay, so I should just go around doing shit to people and hoping that they're okay with it. I should just manipulate people and just get what I want in secret. So there's all of that. But yeah. I know I interrupted, dude.
No, it's okay. It's almost like you're looking at it completely backwards. Like, what you're actually doing is putting it all on the line. When you say like, hey, like, I want to like go back with you tonight, or I want to like what are we gonna do? And you say like, I want to have sex with you. If you just say that, like, it's not you, like, you're being extremely bold, and that's really impressive to people. And I guess it does matter a little bit how you ask, but even just saying it like straight like that, you're exposing yourself, you're putting it all on the table. And just think about how people, first of all, it also cuts the games for them too. They know exactly where you're at. And a lot of the times, to be honest, especially with the other stuff, like asking if they want to have sex, they will just say, no, like, not really, or I don't want to do it like right now. But then you're immediately on the same page. There's no like guessing from both of you. You're just like, oh, okay. And then you can kind of go from there.
Yeah. And on that, so one of the main like resistances in dating, there's this idea of like women will resist, like last minute resistance and stuff. Like, the man will try and get her back to her apartment or his apartment. He'll try and get in her panties, and she'll like resist so that she doesn't look like a slut and all of that, right? That game, that ridiculous fucking game, disappears when you just say, yo, I want to have sex with you. Or, I would like to have sex with you, but like, no pressure. What would you like to do? And then she's like, what am I going to resist? The only reason that people resist, especially like women in dating, is fear of the unknown. Fear of the unknown is the biggest fear because it's basically a fear of death. And so if you're not honest about what you want, like if you're trying to play games and you go, do you want to come back to my place and we can just watch Netflix and chill? And she's like, what does that mean? I know what Netflix and chill means. And he goes, no, I have plausible deniability because I'm basically a politician, and I'm never going to actually like stamp my name on something and be honest. I'm just going to say vague things like Netflix and chill, or we can go back and have a drink. Then I can't ever be pinned to something. You can't ever say, hey, you said this, because it's vague and ephemeral and it could mean anything, and I have plausible deniability. And then because of that, she doesn't fully, 100% with certainty, know what your intentions are. She can guess. She's not fucking stupid. She knows that Netflix and chill probably means you're going to try and make a move on her. But then she has to, because you're not honest, weigh it up in her mind and go, okay, do I want to go back and potentially do something that I'm not sure if I'm ready to do with someone I don't trust? Because how can I trust the person who's fucking lying to my face right now? And we both know he's lying, and it's a fun little dating game that people play. We both know, come on, we know what it means.
Yeah.
It's like,
And she might even be thinking, I'll go back, and like, when is he going to just pounce on me? Because if he won't say it now, he's probably not going to say it then. It adds a huge uncertainty to the whole thing, which I don't enjoy. So
there are some people that genuinely love that game. Like, there are men and women that genuinely love that game. If you genuinely love that game, fine, play that game. I don't recommend it, but I'm not going to judge you for it. Why do you care about my judgment anyway? I'm just some random dude on the internet. Play whatever game you want, but there are a hell of a lot of people out there that are so sick of that game, especially women. There are so many women. You guys don't understand, especially the guys of you that are afraid to be this honest, and be as honest as you want, but there are a lot of you that are afraid to be this honest because you're worried what women will think. I am telling you, as someone who has hooked up with, at this point, a couple of hundred women, there are so many women that are like, holy shit, I have been waiting basically my entire dating life for someone to just fucking tell me the truth. I know that Netflix and chill means you want to get in my pants, but when I say that, and when I go, oh, you just want to get in my pants, don't you? Then he's like, no, I don't. No, I don't, bitch. I didn't say that. I'm a creepy politician and I can say whatever I want and you can't pin me to anything. And then she's like, I know what it means. And he's like, nah, bitch. Like, who says I'm going to let you in my panties, bitch? Like, you're a little dirty girl. Like, I don't want that at all. I'm just a nice boy. And she's all like, I know what he means, but he won't admit it. And then we have to fuck around. And you come along and you're like, hey, I want to fuck you. You don't have to fuck me. You're allowed to say no, of course. It's your body, your choice and all of that. But yeah, I want sex. Like, that's what you said. You had some girl and you said, I want to go back to your hotel room and hook up at like 10 p.m. And she was like, okay. And then you had some other girl or every other girl now that you date on the dating apps or in the first couple of messages. I think you do it. Actually, you're doing it on the first date. You're saying, here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something casual. You know, I want to be upfront and honest about that. Here's roughly what that would look like, blah, blah, blah. When you're that honest, women can then make a decision with all the pieces of the puzzle. You have now given them all the pieces of the puzzle rather than what most people do in dating, and men and women both do this. They withhold a lot of the pieces of the puzzle and they say, good luck putting that jigsaw puzzle together. In other words, good luck figuring out how to make a decision that benefits you because I've only told you half the information. I have lied to you and withheld. It's the same thing as politics. This is why people get so emotional in politics, because the politicians always lie and hide things and don't tell the truth and they speak in vague generalities and they go back on their promises and all of that. And so then the entire constituents, the entire like country, really basically every country is like this, are trying to make it an informed decision with lies. That's why I don't vote. And I've had people say, you should vote. And it's like, why? Why am I going to vote when I'm voting for one liar over the other? Like, why would I vote? And in my country, voting is mandatory. I get a fine every time I don't vote. And I'm like, I don't give a shit. Like,
wait, really? I didn't know that.
Bro, this country is like
No
wild
way.
with some of the laws and stuff. But why would I vote? And again, if people want to vote, do whatever you want. I'm a big advocate. I'm a libertarian. Do what you want. But when you're honest and you give people all the pieces of the puzzle, they can make an informed decision.
Yeah, this is something I also started doing, like you mentioned, on dates. I think a lot of guys, and me too, worry like, well, what do you talk about on dates? I mean, obviously, you know, just talk about your interests and try and connect with them. But I reached this point where I just wanted to experiment with, like, let's just get to, like, I started saying to them, like, you know, why are we both here right now? This is...
Yeah, what do we want? Yeah.
We're both interested in each other. We're just talking about our jobs and, you know, there's value in that connecting. But it's like, we're just basically both I realize we're just avoiding the actual topic the entire time. And I remember the first time I did this, I'm like, okay, so why are we here? And I saw her eyes kind of light up, like instantly. She was so much more interested. And I was just like, okay, so here's what I'm looking for. Like, what are you kind of looking for? And there's a way you can kind of do it, like feel out whatever feels natural to you. But it almost turned into like this kind of business negotiation, except with that kind of like romantic excitement. That's the best way I could describe it. A sexy business negotiation. I'm like, look, honestly, like I'm looking for something more casual. I am, like right now, I'm looking for something pretty casual. I don't really want, at least I'm not trying to explore a really deep connection or a long-term relationship right now. So I just say that. And I've had the reaction from like, well, she, you know, the girl will just immediately be like, well, I am 100% looking for a boyfriend right now. I'm like, well, so this probably doesn't make sense, but let's just, you know, finish our drinks and have a fun talk, but I don't think this really makes sense. And then you both, like, it's so much easier for both of you. There's no emotional, we've ended it there. Then the other side, I've said that, and had girls be like, oh my God, like, that's exactly what I'm looking for, which is extremely eye-opening. I didn't believe it till the first time it happens. If you're a guy looking for a more casual relationship and you just say it and they say, oh my God, me too. That is the most amazing feeling in the world, because that's like it was at least a huge limiting belief for me that like no woman on earth would ever want that. So the only way you're going to find out is if you just tell them. And so now on every date, I just kind of lay out wherever I am, whatever I'm looking for at the time. And it's so much more clear. You just get your answer right away, and it saves both of you time. And it's just another layer of just refusing to play games and just being honest and bold. And it just makes the whole process, I know you have to try it. It just makes the whole process so much simpler. And you feel good being honest too. It feels great because you never feel like you're always being true to exactly what you wanted, and you left it all on the table, and you meet people honestly, saying exactly what you want. They say exactly what they want. I don't know. It's just a very, very good way of doing things.
And every other step of the process is better too. The sex is better because now you can both trust each other. And like I said, there's now no resistance. There's no like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen. I need to resist him and push back and say no and push his hand away from my tits and all of that. It's just, well, he told me he wants to fuck me. And then he asked, do you want that? I don't want to pressure you, so tell me what you want. If I want to fuck him, I can say yes. If I say, can we just like fool around and see how we feel? Like, is it okay if we don't go all the way? Is that okay? And he's like, yeah, that's great. And so then she's like, cool. Like, he's going to respect my boundaries. You really understand this if you get into like kink and BDSM and all of that. That trust is such an important, it's mandatory, a part of like kink and BDSM, because you have to know that your partner will tell you, I want to stop. And they have to know that if they say, I'm not comfortable, or they start feeling a bit funny, that you'll stop. And yet most people approach like normal vanilla dating without that trust, where they're just like, let's lie to each other. Let's not be completely upfront. Let's be afraid to tell the truth. And fair enough, it can be really scary. Like, I understand radical honesty is just that, radical at first. But they approach it from lies and omission and hiding and games and manipulation. And then when they get to the sex part, people hold back because I don't trust you. I don't know if you're going to listen to me. If we go back to your place, how do I know, like you said, that you won't just jump on top of me and start fucking touching me? And I'm like, wait, stop. Like, and I've dated a few and been friends with a few women who have been in that situation, where people have had a few beers and they're all sort of drunk, and she says, fine, we can go back to your place. And he's like, we'll just watch a movie. And she's like, I don't want to do anything sexual. And then he's like, yeah, we won't. Don't worry. We're just watching a movie. And then they start watching a movie. He makes out with her a bit. And she's like, well, I don't want to be a bitch, so I should let him kiss me. And so they kiss her a little bit. And then he's touching her titties. And she's like, I don't know if I want this. And I'm kind of drunk. And it's in like one of those gray areas where she doesn't say no. But, it can be messy. And so I would rather, not that we're sitting there living our lives in fear, but I'd rather just like not even have to think about that shit. I'd rather not have to think about consent. Don't fucking take that out of context.
Clipped. Yeah.
I'd rather not have to think hard about consent and like, how gray area is this? I'd rather just be like, yo, do you want to do this? Yes or no? And then she's like, maybe. And I'm like, sweet, what does maybe mean? Like, do you want to think about it? Like, what do you want to do? What do you want? And all of this stuff that we're talking about really, 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 really applies to every other area of your life, especially business. You are the perfect example of this, because in the first couple of years of coaching and my content, I thought you had to use tactics and games and manipulation. You couldn't just be honest with potential coaching clients or potential customers or whatever. I thought you had to use sales techniques and all of that shit. I didn't think you could just fucking be honest with them. And so I didn't have the price of my coaching listed on my website, because every fucking sales guru said, don't do that, because you'll scare away some people if the price is too high, which my coaching counts as what's called high ticket, which just means it's expensive. It's not fucking $50. It's $11,000 currently as I record this. And so they said, if you tell people that in your content, like what I just did is a big no-no in the sales world. I shouldn't have just said it's $11,000. You definitely shouldn't have that on your website, because what you're supposed to do is tell people how great your coaching is and all of this shit. Then they jump on a free call with you, and you kind of con them into a free call. You say, get on a free call with me.
Yeah, then you got to corner them, and then you got to.
Yep. And you tell them that the free call is not like to get them to sign up. You just tell them it's free coaching. So you don't even tell them it's to sign up for the coaching program. You just say, come get free coaching with me. And people go, well, fuck yeah, I'm struggling. I need help. I don't have much money, so I'm going to jump on a free call. Like, you're attracting people who don't have much money by doing this. But come on the free call, and then you get on a free call, you change their life, and you say, like, how much does your life suck right now? They get very emotional, and they go, my life is awful. And you go, tell me about that. Yeah, keep getting upset. I want you to fucking cry for me. And then they're, like, sad. And then you go, and how good would your life be if you changed? Like, sell me that dream. And then through the tears, they're like, wow, it'd be so beautiful if I could just have a girlfriend or more money. And you're like, keep telling me about that. And so you get them really emotional about that. And then you go, so I'm hearing from you that your life would fucking suck if you keep doing what you're doing. They're like, yeah, it's just awful. Yeah, think about being on your deathbed and the regrets that you'd have in your life. And they're like hyper emotional at this point. And then you say, think how good your life would be, how much you need. I'm making you needy. You need that goal. You need that success. You can't be happy without it. Like, I'm literally telling you, you're not okay, and you are not going to be okay unless you succeed. Like, miserable thing to tell people. But that's how it's often done in the sales world. And then when you're hyper emotional and you're no longer thinking rationally, and I've told you that your life will literally be fucking hell if you don't change, and it will be beautiful and perfect and happy and everything you could ever want if you do change, I then say, and by the way, like, why don't you sign up for coaching with me? And they're like, oh, okay, like, how much does that cost? And you go, don't worry about money. We got payment plan. How much is it going to cost you not to change your life? And they're like, yeah, you're right. But I have to speak to my wife. Do you speak to your wife about everything? Like, do you think your wife wants you to be happy? Yes, she does. So don't you think that she'd want you to be happy? And what is part of being a man, being masculine, making decisions? Do you think your wife's going to respect you if you run to her? And like, you do all these objection handlings that are very, 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 very manipulative. And I did that shit for the first couple of years. And it felt so dirty, man. It felt so gross. I felt like I was looking at another human being who was currently very emotional and very fucking vulnerable. And I was using that vulnerability that I had generated. I had made them vulnerable. And I was using that against them. And more to the point, they weren't aware that I was doing it. That's the bit that really I couldn't deal with, because I thought about all the times that I, in my own life, especially my childhood, had been bullied. And the friends of mine that I had watched being bullied, and I had stood up for them and protected them and tried to help them and all of that. And I thought how unfair those moments were when there was a victim who was being bullied and didn't know why. And I was basically perpetuating the same thing by putting these people in a position of vulnerability. And then I was using psychology tricks on them that they weren't aware of. That felt unfair. That felt like manipulation. And so eventually what I did is I had a friend of mine who was going through the same sort of process with his business. And we both were like, I can't do this anymore. I think we should put our prices on the website. I think we should just tell people this is what we're offering. If they want it, they want it. If they don't, they don't. If they're on the fence, we can talk to them and help them make that decision. And so I say all of this to talk about radical honesty and how you can just be fucking upfront. And you were one of those people. You jumped on one of those $200 coaching calls with me that I offer. And I'm fucking upfront and clear about this. I offer them at an extreme discount because some of those people, like some of you when you sign up for one, I'll coach you for a couple of hours, you change your life, and then I'll say, would you like to join the full-on hardcore coaching program? And some people say, fuck, man, I kind of do. That's why I offer those $200 calls. I'm upfront and honest about that. When you book in a form, I literally fucking say at the end of it, I will ask you if you want to sign up for the coaching program. Even in the questionnaire that you fill out to buy one of those $200 coaching calls, I literally say, is the coaching program something that you're interested in? So I know upfront if you are or not. And if you say no, then I'll still ask, but I'll just be like, yeah, it's fine. I know you already said no, it's fine. And so you were one of those people. You did a $200 coaching call. Then I just said to you, would you like the proper coaching program? And you were like, fuck, man, I kind of do. And so I'm curious from your point of view, what that was like to not be pushed, and more to the point, since we're talking about honesty and how it applies to dating and business, what was it like to have someone just be that like radically honest, I guess, and just say like, do you want this? This is what it is. Do you want this? The same way that we do with sex. Like, do you want to come back to my place and have sex? And here's what we do. How does that sound? What was that like from your point of view as the person receiving that?
Yeah, I definitely got the zero pressure on me. I didn't feel. I felt like I convinced myself, and I'd been thinking about joining the coaching for a long time. And by the time I got on the call, I was just kind of scared to just jump right into the coaching, but I'd already sort of made the decision, listening to all your content. Also, like you, like doing what you just did, like walking through your thought process and laying it all out makes it so much more comfortable to talk to you about it. You know what I mean? So I was already even kind of primed with that, knowing that's how you think about it.
Yeah, I'm not the enemy that you need to defend against and keep your wallet safe. And the same in sex. You're not the enemy that she needs to keep her panties or her pussy safe from because you might try and sneak in there.
Yeah.
It's like you're just saying, yo, I would like to get in there. Would you like me to? And she goes, okay. Or no. Or maybe let's talk about it.
Yeah, so it's that you're on the same team thing, which is a
Yeah.
really core idea. I felt like we were just on the same team of Project Help Lucas. You know what I mean? Like, so I got on the call. By the way, it was a really good time. I was even a little bit nervous just to sign up for the call, but it's a good way to just talk to him and see how it feels to actually interact. Talk to the guy. If you've been listening to a lot of his content, it's pretty surreal the first time. But yeah, we had like, it was like 3.5 hours or something. It was a really amazing.
Yeah.
We talked about a lot of really good stuff. That's where he identified immediately the shame and guilt stuff. And we talked about that. He gave me and that's okay, map of consciousness, all that kind of work on acceptance and letting go. Gave me like book recommendations. And then was like, yeah, so have you like thought about maybe joining the coaching? I'm like, yes, I have. That would be amazing. And then you were just like, well, is there anything you want from me? And I'm just like, no, I think I want to. I don't really need anything. And you're just like, okay, well, we'll talk about payment details. And then, well, that's why I'm glad you just talked about the price. I mean, I'm an engineer. I work industrial a lot too. And so many people play this game for high value, specialized equipment. It's impossible to find out how much it costs.
I know.
Until you
it's so
just jump on a quick sales call where they just have to bother you for,
Yeah.
and they won't just anyway. So I really appreciate that from that perspective. So I paid, you do have the payment plan, but I paid all up front, and very happy I did. This is kind of like, you have to just think to yourself, like, I guess I'll do a little commercial here for you. The kind of stuff you're going to pick up here, just the long-term value, the value over time, of working on your mindset and being part of this group and kind of getting started, picking up an accountability partner that sticks with you after this, staying in a Discord group, kind of like the network of people. Like one of the guys invited me down to his apartment in a city, and we had like an amazing weekend out. That's where one of my stories is from. It made all the difference for me. That's all I can say.
Especially where you started from. Like you said that you felt like a very unfixable case, like a special case. Like, I'm too far gone. It's too late for me. It's been too long without sexual experiences. I have too much guilt and shame and all of that. And I'm not really fixable, which you called that the ego's secret weapon to resisting self-improvement help, is to say, I'm special, I'm unfixable, I'm broken. I guess what would you say to someone else that might be feeling like that? They're feeling a little bit unfixable, like I'm special, my problems are insurmountable, and other people can change, but not me.
I think you've just got to see other people going through it at the same time, and you do have to take a leap and just kind of believe. I think if anybody out there thinks really hard and rationally about it, they know they're full of it. That he can give you examples all day, but you've convinced yourself, and just you have to have that kind of awareness. I think you probably do know deep down that you're probably pretty normal, and you just haven't really tried very hard. You haven't really given yourself permission. You haven't really exhausted your options. I know I just didn't try at all for years. And, but you kind of have to take that leap and start. And being in the group, what was insane is watching people come through after you, or like say you're in week 10 or something and you see a new guy join and tell everybody why he can't do something that you just did. And then you watched, 10 other people just do. And then you kind of start seeing it from Andy's perspective, and you realize he's seen it all before, a lot more than I have. And you do kind of start, it gives you that kind of awareness of how a little bit ridiculous it is. But you have compassion for people when you're stuck in your own head, when you're by yourself, you're trying to do it by yourself, and there's no example. All you have is your own voice in your head, and it's way harder. So this is kind of another, relying on other people and being part of a group or a team, and your accountability partner, when he goes out and approaches and is like, yeah, man, so like go out tomorrow and like call me on the phone when you're there. That kind of pushing each other, that story just kind of evaporates. That it's impossible.
Yeah, this stuff is so much easier with other people. I say this all the time. Like everything I have ever done in my life was with the help of a lot of people. Like I don't just have like one or two coaches. I don't just have like one or two friends that help me. My entire life, I have systematically gone through and spent less time and now eliminated from my life anyone who's not a positive influence. And all of my friends, all of my coaches, basically all of this audience, I've surrounded myself by people that want me to win and I want them to win. And that makes this a whole lot easier, whether you do that in my coaching program or someone else's coaching program or just a forum or friends or whatever. But like a lot of people, especially men out there, are playing this shit on hard mode because they're going out there by themselves, like you were, to try and like learn how to approach women, learn how to improve your dating profile, learn how to improve your appearance, work through all of the trials and tribulations that can come from the dating process, especially at the start, like learning how to reframe rejection and not be so hurt by it, all of that. And when you're by yourself, you don't know how to frame things in the proper, true context. And so if a woman says, no, thank you, I have a boyfriend, your first thought is going to be, oh my God, I must be a loser. It's because I'm a loser. See, it's because I'm ugly. I knew it. I knew that every woman either has a boyfriend or they're going to hate me. And it's like, no, the proper context is that some women are going to have boyfriends and they're going to be loyal to those boyfriends. And so when you hit on them, they're going to say, no, thank you, I have a boyfriend. And that doesn't have to be a bad thing. That can be a beautiful thing. You can even say, that's beautiful. I hope you and he are very happy together and I hope you guys have a beautiful life together. And then she will say, wow, that's really sweet of you. Thank you. I hope you find a really nice girl. I hope you keep talking to more women because you're really nice. And then you go, wow. So she walked away feeling good. She'll probably go and tell her boyfriend and he'll feel good. I get to feel good. Holy shit, 2 or 3 people just got to feel good. Wow, I can keep doing this. With that little change in your mindset of like, and that little change in your technique of just, I'll wish her well afterwards if she says I have a boyfriend. You just change that and the whole world changes. But when you're by yourself, you don't know that. You don't have these little tiny tweaks or little tiny steps that you can take to start moving forward and taking more action. And so the littlest things bother you. You don't have very much motivation because you're by yourself and that's limited. You're probably using shame and guilt and fear and anger and frustration as your motivating tools instead of letting people who are ahead of you and are feeling good motivate you, because then those people will be speaking to you from a place of love, a place of excitement, a place of I've done it and I promise you can too. So a place of actual evidence and belief rather than what you're doing when you do it by yourself, which is blind faith. And you're going, I hope this works out for me. But if you have someone who's ahead of you, and again, that could be a coach or a forum or friends or whatever, someone who's ahead of you, they can say, no, I've seen people in your position. They change. It's easy. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine, bro. 2 weeks from now, this will be a lot easier. I promise. And then you go, oh, really? And you're like, yeah, like I promise. I've seen a lot of people. And then you're like, oh. So now I'm trusting your evidence rather than my own like hope. And evidence and someone who's done something are always going to be so much more compelling and they're going to change you so much more than you just fucking trying to stumble around in the dark going, I hope I can figure this out. And sometimes you do, but a lot of times you don't. And that's why people quit. They're playing on hard mode trying to do it themselves. They don't have the proper contextualization. They don't know how to pick themselves up when they're down. They don't know how to motivate themselves in a positive way, like in an effective way. They're missing so many different tools. They don't know the steps to take. It's no wonder that most people stumble around with goals in life and self-improvement, just lost in the dark. Human beings are social creatures at their core, and nothing we've ever achieved as a species has been completely alone. People might point at people and be like, well, what about like this athlete? He's great. Like, I don't know, pick like Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant or fucking in tennis, Novak Djokovic. These are people that are grinders. Like, I just named you 3 grinders. These people grind like fucking crazy. That was part of how they became great. But if you look at them, Kobe Bryant had a team. Michael Jordan had a huge fucking team and a great coach, Phil Jackson, and a whole bunch of other great teammates. Holy shit. And then Novak Djokovic, a lot of you won't know because it's tennis, but like, Jesus Christ, that boy was like pretty decent. He was in the top 10. And there were two people, Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal, who were just kings. They had won basically everything for like 10 years. They were just the gods. No one could touch them. And Novak Djokovic was close, but nowhere near them. And he said, all right, I need help. And so he hired this massive team. He had spiritual coaches. He got one person literally dedicated to his diet, another person literally dedicated to his sleep. He read a whole bunch of shit. He got multiple coaches. He had this team of like 12 top level people. And over the next couple of years, they trained him. And now he's like the world number one in tennis, like because of the team. And he'll be the first person to tell you, yeah, I don't no fucking way could I have done that on my own. Like that wasn't me. I played the tennis. I went out there and grinded and busted my ass and all of that, but I had a team. Like I wasn't going to do that without the team. And so there is no human being on the planet who's achieved greatness completely and utterly by themselves. And even if you could find me an example, okay, did they develop literally everything in their life completely by themselves? Or did they benefit from the things that other human beings have contributed to the human race? Like, did they invent the laptop that they use? Did they invent the electricity? Did they run the power plant? No. Did they fucking run the farms to give the food to themselves so that they can eat and continue being the greatest? No. So there are human beings constantly supporting us at all moments in time. And we make this process very hard on ourselves when we say, I'm going to play on single player mode. No. Humanity or being alive, being a form of consciousness, is inherently a multiplayer game. And we go astray and stress ourselves out and make it harder when we say this is a single player game. And if anyone tries to help me, I'm going to say, no, don't, because then I don't get all the credit. I need to do it by myself. No, don't. I don't want to be a burden. People want to help you. And the ability to let them help you and keep you accountable and push you and all of that. Again, whether that's in a coaching program or whether that's just friends and forums and shit like that. But you got to let people help you if you want to achieve greatness. Like you're just not going to achieve greatness if you do this by yourself. TED Talk over.
I like how you always... No, we love it. That's why we listen.
To really highlight how far you've come and just celebrate your own personal wins. You know, you went from I'm some special unfixable case who's never going to make it and there's too much wrong with me and all of that, to then saying, all right, fine, I want some help. Can I please help? Now you're at a point where you made this in your final post in the group. I've had a huge internal shift towards an abundance mindset with women. I just don't worry about being alone, desperate, and in scarcity anymore. That is such an insane leap. Like to go from I'm full of shame, I have only had one hookup in 7 years, it's probably too late for me, I'm probably too old, I'm probably not good enough, to just be like, yeah, I'm pretty happy now. I think I have abundance, I think I know what I'm doing. And you're at this point where you've really started embracing all of that stuff. And something else you wrote, I'm simultaneously meeting more women than any other time in my life, but I'm also more at peace and I'm happy being single. I want to talk about that because people will hear that sometimes and go like, wait, but like, how can you be happy being single, but you also care about dating? I think for you, it's been sort of just a piece of like, look, if there's a woman in my life, I'll be happy. If there's no women in my life, I can still be happy. I can go and change that if I want to. I can work on dating more women. I can work on putting myself out there. But in the meantime, while I'm waiting for the next person that I date or the next person I sleep with, I don't have to be miserable.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is like where you'd recommended I read Letting Go by David Hawkins. Yeah. I listened to the audiobook, which you recommend a physical copy, but just personal preference, I like audiobooks. I've listened to the entire thing front to back 3 times in 12 weeks. It was very, very important idea to grasp. And that's kind of the paradox of that letting go, right? Where he kind of describes it in terms of like, it once you let go of this desire for something or desperate need for it, it'll kind of miraculously just come into your life effortlessly. Which the caveat there is you have to not take that as don't do anything.
Yeah, you're still taking action. Yeah.
Letting go of the coveting or desperation need to get something. When you let go of that, you kind of peacefully work on it. And it kind of even goes back to what we talked at the beginning. It becomes this effortless, positive cycle of pursuing something positively. So yeah, it's something I found I had to get the actual abundance where, I mean, I remember the coaching call I came to where like, guys, I have like 6 girls I'm talking to at once. Like this is like a part-time job. This is too much for me now. Where I kind of had that click of like, which is the overwhelming opposite problem. I joked about like now I use dating apps like a girl does, where it's like I just have too many options, and now it's like,
I'm too popular.
or yeah, it's like every time I pick it up, but so it happens to you, and then you feel all these amazing positive, like, wait, so now I can just go after what I want. Like now it's not desperations. Oh my God, I have to take anything I can get to, you know what do I actually want? Which is a beautiful switch in its own right to kind of realizing that's what you actually, this process is looking for what you want and what makes sense for you. Then you kind of realize it is a state of mind because, you know, shout out to Cam talking to me about this, that it does go up and down. Like just randomly, sometimes you'll strike out a bunch of times in a row and you kind of realize you can just hold on to that feeling of abundance. It's a state of mind. And obviously, literally having it helps you kind of understand that. But you can hold on to that state of mind over time.
Yeah, and to be clear, with letting go, which we talk about a lot in coaching and all of that, I say to all of you listening, you're not letting go of the goal. A lot of people misunderstand that. They go, so wait, this is some like woo-woo manifestation, spirituality, like bullshit, where if I just like let go, then the universe will like give it to me. And it's like, yes, but you're still taking action. So don't just sit on your couch staring at the wall being like, I'm going to manifest a woman into my life. That's what a lot of people do with like spiritual and woo-woo stuff. They'll sit on the couch at home, shoving like Doritos and Mountain Dew into their face and just watching Netflix and going, you know, crumbs like dripping down their face. They're like, how come I don't have a girl in my life? Like, or where's my Prince Charming? Like, I'm going to manifest it. Come on. And then they manifest it and then nothing happens. You still have to leave the house and walk up to the potential Prince Charming and be like, hello, I exist, you know? Or you still might have to go outside and improve yourself and talk to a lot of people and play the numbers game. But we're letting go of the negative emotions and the negative stories around it. So we're not letting go of the goal. We're letting go of the negative stories of like, it sucks that I don't have this. It's not fair. Dating is so impossible. It's so hard. Women suck. Like we're letting go of that shit. And we're replacing it with either neutral or positive stories. And we're saying, look, I'm sure if I just keep improving for long enough, I might have to wait a couple of years, who knows, maybe a couple of months. If I wait long enough and keep improving the whole time, eventually I should find someone that is what I'm looking for. Okay, I'm just going to trust in that. And I'll let go of my negative stories that say it's hopeless, it's not fair, all of that. And that's a process. You don't just necessarily snap your fingers and let go, although you can. But you start letting go of some of those stories that we've held on to. Stories of I'm unlovable, I'm unworthy, stories of I can't be happy until I achieve this goal. That's going to leave you feeling very needy and desperate and in scarcity. And then you're going to show up to dates with that energy. And that's okay. Like plenty of people show up to dates with that energy. But that's not as exciting for the person that you're on a date with. They are less likely to date you, less likely to have sex with you, less likely to keep seeing you if you're needy and desperate. So we're letting go of, like what you said, the neediness and the desperation of the goal and the story that I can't be happy until I have this. And we're saying, no, I can try and start letting myself be just a little bit more happy as I work towards the goal. I can be happy while I work on the goal. And yeah, the goal is important to me. I'm still going to take action. In fact, what you find is you take more action if you let go of the desperate need to succeed at that goal. And you instead just say, I'm excited to succeed at that goal. I can't wait. It's going to be a blast. It's so beautiful that I get to work on this. I'm so glad that I get to show up every day and take a little baby step forward. I'm grateful for the people helping me. I'm grateful for existence itself and the opportunity to achieve this goal. That's beautiful. I'm so happy to be here. In other words, I'm going to enjoy the journey and not just say I'll only be happy when I reach the destination. Then you're in a better headspace. You take more action. You literally take more action when you let go of the desperation and the need for that goal. And you replace, I need this goal with, no, I want this goal. And you change the word need or have to or must or should. You swap that out for want or excited or I get to work on this goal.
Yeah, and like the line about enjoying being single more than ever is part of this when you just start appreciating everything. I started appreciating like when I was practicing this active gratitude where I'm like, you know what? I do have a lot of free time. I do just like my independence and getting to control my own space. And being single is pretty, this is fine. Like, I don't know. It's hard to explain where just that comfort level, because part of me not being comfortable being single was the belief that I'm stuck here and I'm never getting a relationship. But once it's like you're talking to a bunch of people and girls tell you like, I like you so much, I want to date you. And I'm like, that's not really what I want right now. But just, it makes you feel like you're choosing your own life and your own destiny, and having the choice to choose to do what you want right now just gives you this peace about it, because it's not your fate. It's not a sentence, it's just, you're doing exactly what you want right now. That's what's so beautiful about it. It feels really, really good.
Yeah, a big part of the coaching program is that we empower people and we encourage people to do what they want. Like a lot of people come to the coaching, you definitely did, full of guilt and shame. And it's always manifested in the statement should or have to or must. I should do this and I shouldn't do that. That is guilt. Everyone listening, anytime you feel yourself saying the word should or shouldn't, and if you start listening for it, you'll realize that you say the word should and shouldn't probably like 100 times a day. Most people do. Most people in society is sort of run on should and shouldn't. It is. Especially if we start talking about religion and shit and sin, it's just should and shouldn't. If you start listening for it, and every time you say the word should or shouldn't, if you instead start swapping that out for want or choose, like I choose to do this rather than I should do this. Take ownership of it. Understand that when you say I should, you're basically being the victim. You're being passive. You're saying, I know I should do this. It's not a choice. I don't have a choice in this. Take fucking ownership of that. If you're going to work on a goal, or if you're going to choose to do something, make it an active choice. There's a book on this called Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink, who talks about exactly this. And David Hawkins, in his book Letting Go, and a few other books of his, talks about stop saying, I have to, and start saying I choose to. And stop saying I can't, and instead say I won't, or I don't want to. Take fucking ownership of the decisions that you're making. And as soon as you stop being passive, you start feeling really empowered. You go, no, I'm choosing to do this. I'm choosing to stay at this job that's making me unhappy right now. Do I want to continue choosing to stay here? I'm allowed to. There is no should, there is no shouldn't. I can stay here, but if I'm going to stay at this job that's currently making me unhappy, maybe I will take ownership of it and find ways to be happy while I'm here. Maybe I'll ask for a pay rise. Maybe I'll just do some deep breathing and meditation before work every day. Maybe I'll find reasons to be grateful for this job. Maybe there is joy in this job. I've just been not noticing it. I've been taking it for granted. Or maybe I'll choose to leave. If I really fucking hate this job, instead of saying, yeah, but I should stay here because I got to pay the bills. Yeah, it's just what you have to do. People should just shut up and work at a shitty job they're not happy with. No, I'm going to take ownership. I'm going to apply for another job and work somewhere else. And plenty of people in the coaching program come to the coaching program and fucking quit their job and go work somewhere else. Like, there's just such a common, there's several people in the group right now literally working through this. It's such a common thing in the group because we get people to start taking ownerships of the decisions in their life. And I think just working a job is one that human beings often just go, I have to work a shitty job that I don't want to do. And like, I should, that's what you should do. A lot of people believe that life has a lot of compromises, sacrifices, and miseries in it, built into it. Like a lot of people believe that life in existence is suffering or has suffering that cannot be avoided, cannot be worked through, cannot be fixed, and cannot be recontextualized. And so they're working a job they hate and they go, well, I should, that's what I have to do. Or they're in a relationship that's not bringing them joy and they're like, yeah, but I don't have any other options. Or they're going through something in their life that's bringing them a lot of trauma and they're like, yeah, but this does suck. I'm at a funeral, funerals suck. I have to be in pain right now. There's no way to recontextualize that. Or I'm going through a breakup. That means I have to hurt for the next 6 months. There's no way to recontextualize that or get help or support or love or any of that. And so we as humans often believe that there are things we inherently should or have to do. But if we can start taking ownership of that, which requires moving from childhood into adolescence and maybe one day adulthood, which is scary. Most people enjoy, and they don't realize they're doing this, but a lot of times we enjoy being a child because it means no responsibility. If I say, well, I have to, that's something a child would say. If we say, well, I should, that's something a child would say. If we say, I'm unhappy, but I can't do anything, that's the childlike part of us because, yeah, children are not going to be like, well, I don't like school. I'm just going to not go to school. It's like, but you have to. Like, you're not fully consenting to a lot of the things that happen as a child.
That's a good point. Yeah.
People have taken over ownership of you to look after you. Because as a child, if you do what you want, a lot of that will involve, I'm going to eat Ben and Jerry's and fucking burn through mummy and daddy's credit card without telling them. And I'm going to go play in the traffic on the street because that's fun. And I'm going to blow things up and play with sticks and stab them into my friend's eye because I don't fully have empathy yet. I don't realize that punching my friend or punching or smashing ants on the thing has consequences. And so we own children in a way because we're trying to look after them. But then when we come out of that childhood, when we hit 18, especially in Western culture, we often don't have what's called a rites of passage. We don't have a journey from childhood to adulthood. They're just like, you're 18 now, go out there and good luck, like figure it out. And often you're still at university until you're like 21. And so they're like, you're 21 now, go just figure it out. And you're like, well.
Yeah. And then a lot of people still get that treatment from their parents and stuff. Well, you should get a good job. You have to get your degree and then you should become,
Yeah. The government and society will treat you like a child because they're trying to look after you. They care about you. They love you. They want you to be happy.
But at no point does something push you off to choosing everything for yourself. That's, I think, a huge message you're trying to get. And also the should works both ways. You mentioned, you have to go to work or I should go to, but also a lot of guys, especially in the program, say I should get a better job or I have to get a better job. So it kind of can work both ways. The should can work the other way. And so I think that's part of like, there's that same analogy there with being single and being happy. It's the same thing with the job. Like maybe you want to work in your dating life right now and you don't love your job and you think, oh, well, you start by like, oh, but I should be getting a better job. But you can choose to keep working at that job and say, I'm going to choose to do this while I'm working on something else. And you'll probably feel this peace about your job now because you literally just said, I'm choosing to stay here for now or something, or I'm choosing not to work on this yet. Like when I came to coaching, I was really guilty that I'd been into, lifting weights and fitness my whole life, but it kind of fallen off. So when I was in the beginning and I was pushing myself really hard, we had calls where I'm like, oh man, I should be in the gym. I need to get back into that, but I'm really busy with this right now. And I kind of realized, it's okay. I'm choosing to just put that on a back burner right now. And then what happened is by the end of coaching, I'm like, I have success with the dating stuff. I'm like, you know what? I really want to start lifting again. And then I chose to change that at that point. And so just realizing the whole point, I could just choose what's important to me and choose to be okay with whatever I'm doing right now. And yeah, so that ownership was a huge thing the whole way.
Yeah, I want to read something out from the coaching group, and I'll keep it anonymous. I won't use names, but there's a guy in the group right now who is choosing to put his dating life a little bit more in the background. So he's still going to take some progress towards it, but it's not his main goal anymore. He wants to work on his other goals. And I think he had a little bit of he's figuring it out and making sure am I allowed to do this? And he's been in the coaching long enough to know, yes, we're going to support whatever you want to do, whatever you choose to do, as long as you're choosing it with honesty and integrity and you're not lying to yourself and saying, well, I choose to do heroin and watch Netflix and just sit around on my ass. And then we go, is that what your future self would tell you to do? Is that what your ideal self would encourage you to do? Is that what that honest integrity part of you would want you to do? Is that what would be the most loving and compassionate thing that you could do for yourself? And then they go, no, I guess jerking off to porn for 6 hours doesn't get me closer to the person that I want. Fine, I wasn't being fully honest. So integrity and reality is important when we're answering the question of what do we want? Because sometimes we say, what do we want? I want to just watch Netflix and eat ice cream and never do anything and have no responsibility and everyone can fuck off. And it's like, well, you're allowed to do that, but do you want the consequences of that? And then you go, well, I guess not. Okay, so with the consequences in mind, do you want to do that? And then they go, no. Okay, so let's acknowledge the consequences or the potential consequences. What do we want? The outcomes, rather than the word consequences. But anyway, so this guy in the coaching group said that he wants to put his dating life sort of as a background goal, almost like on hold. And so what I said to him was, yes, if this is what you want to do, just make sure this is what you want and all of that. If it is what you want, we will support you. All that we care about in the coaching group are two things. Number one, are you happy? Truly happy, and being honest with yourself about that happiness. If so, amazing. If not, that's okay. We just change something, we tweak something, we take some action, and then we work towards you being a little happier. Number two, are you making progress in some area of your life? Are you moving forward overall? If so, awesome. If not, that's okay. We change something, blah, blah, blah. So those are the only two things that we care about in the coaching program. Are you honestly happy? And that can be hard to answer that question sometimes in an honest way, but we help with that. Are you happy? And are you making progress in your life in some way? And if so, brilliant. If not, let's change something. And I think that kind of ties in general with the question that I get asked a lot on this channel and in the coaching program, where someone's like, what should I do? You probably have seen that a lot in the coaching program. Guys will come in and be like, hey, what do you guys think I should do? And then my very next question is like, what would you like to do?
Oh yeah.
And then
it's all the time with that.
And then people will think about it and they'll go, well, having thought about it, blah, 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 I think this is what I want to do. But I'm almost just like asking permission, or tell me that I'm not making some dumb, stupid mistake or something. And we're like, sounds good, bro. If that's what you want, great. Here's something to keep in mind. Here's a potential outcome that might happen. Just, because I have enough experience, I can tell you the potential outcomes a lot of the time. Here's what might potentially happen. Do you want to do that? And they'll go, yeah, I do. Great. Do that. Sometimes they say, look, I genuinely really don't know. That's why I'm asking you. And then fine, I'll give you a list of possible things you could do and the possible outcomes that might happen. And then I'll say, which of those sound decent to you? And then you do that.
Yeah, another huge thing, because so much stuff comes to mind as we're talking about this. I've been in, so much has happened, but we had that issue kind of with me where I was like, you kind of a little bit confronted me, I guess, with like, why exactly do you want that? Like, what do you really want there? And I didn't have an answer. And I almost had we talk about breakdowns. I mean, there was a lot of them that kind of sent me spiraling on like, what am I even doing? Why do I want this? And we kind of came back, and there's a beautiful answer that I love from you. One is what sounds cool. Sometimes you can do things in life. They don't have to be the most profound, poetic, beautiful, deep reason ever. You could just be like, that would be kind of cool to have. And then the key is try it. That was the ultimate answer I just settled on. You know what? This will just be something different to try. And I'll just see where this kind of leads me, trying this style of dating. Maybe this will make me really happy. I think I'm just going to try and do it. And I kind of didn't really need any deeper answer at the time. So I think that is an important caveat. I think that is a valid answer you can come to for doing something.
Yeah, dude, so many people, so many of you listening right now, put all this pressure on yourselves to know what the meaning of your life is. Or, ready? To know my purpose. I got to know my purpose. And it's like, what the fuck? I don't know my purpose. How could I say there's some perfect answer for my life that will never change for the next 50 years, and I'm going to somehow know that it will never change, and then I'm going to get to the end of my life where I'm in a much wiser position, I have more knowledge and more experience and all of that, and so 30-something-year-old me, or a lot of you are 20-something-year-old you has to know what 80-year-old you is still going to care about. That's essentially what you're saying when you're like, I have to find the purpose of my entire life. I have to now predict who I'm going to be when I'm 80. That's impossible. I'll tell you that right now. That's impossible. As someone who's 37, you change your mind a lot every few years. And so rather than trying to find the perfect purpose for the rest of my life, some people do find that. Great, brilliant, that's beautiful. Me right now, my purpose is to just spread as much love and understanding and compassion as I can throughout my life. But that might change in the future. I don't think it will. That seems...
You got a pretty good one, I will say.
That's a pretty nice one, right? That's pretty good shit. That most people who pick that one, like Buddhist monks, Mother Teresa, Jesus, and no, I am not saying that I'm those people, but the people that do go down that pathway, they seem to stick to that for life. It's a pretty satisfying one. But that wasn't my purpose 3 years ago at all. My purpose 3 years ago was like, holy fuck, I'm drowning and I feel like I can't pay the bills from my coaching. Please let me get to a point where I can just even pay the bills. That was my purpose at that point in time. Before that, it was like, holy shit, I suck with women and it's stressing me out. Is it possible to have women be nice to me and want to sleep with me? And so that was my purpose. Before that, it was, holy shit, I want to figure out photography. Before that, it was, I want to kill myself. How do I not want to kill myself anymore? And so the purpose will change over life. And like you said, rather than trying to find some all-meaning purpose and all of that shit, which just stresses you out and makes you feel like you're bad or wrong if you don't have a purpose, and then you look around at everyone else and you're like, they all have a purpose. No, they fucking don't. You just didn't bother asking them. You didn't sit them down and go, hey, what's the meaning of your life? And they're all going to tell you, because this is a fun question that I love to ask on dates. I literally love asking people this question. I think it brings up beautiful conversations. I ask basically everyone that I date, hey, what's the meaning of your life? I'm telling you, 99% of them are like, I don't fucking know. And if I ask my friends who are in their 30s and 40s, what's the meaning of your life? They're like, bro, I don't know. And I'm like, what brings you meaning then? And they're like, oh, well, like my friends, my family, this, my job, my business, helping people, the gym, all of that. And I'm like, cool, that sounds great. Like the vast majority of people don't have some all-reaching, all-encompassing meaning or purpose. They just don't. It's too overwhelming a question for most people because you're basically saying to them, can you please explain to me why you're here? And most people are like, bro, I don't know. I just woke up screaming and I couldn't use the English language or any other language. I couldn't talk. I couldn't communicate. Bro, I didn't know what the fuck was going on. And then I had two people that were like, hi, I'm your mummy and daddy. And I was like, what the fuck is that? And they're like, we made you. And you're like, you made me? I didn't exist and you made me? And they're like, yeah, we don't know how it happened. I just stuck my dick in her. And then you came out 9 months later. I don't know how. We just put food in there. We didn't even do that. We just set the conditions right for life to exist. And then out you came. We're tripping balls. We don't know what we're doing. And you're like, wait, but you're supposed to have the answers and you guys don't know what you're doing. And then you go to other people. Well, maybe my school has the answers. No, they fucking don't. Maybe the government knows why I'm here. No, they fucking don't. Maybe some enlightened Buddhist monk does. And he'll be like, I don't know, but
Closer,
we're all one.
But yeah.
Yeah, we're all one, but I don't know why we're one. Okay. Maybe this guy in this cult will tell me. No, he'll just tell you to give him all his money and have sex with him, but you can't have sex with anyone else. Maybe this guy on the internet who calls himself Top G, he'll know why. No, he fucking doesn't. Maybe the guy with the Lamborghini, he worked hard to get that Lamborghini. He's got to have the answers. No, he fucking doesn't know anything. And so none of us know why we're here. We're all just guessing. And so to try and come up with some sort of all-encompassing meaning or purpose, I think is just trying to figure out something that's beyond your scope. That's why a lot of people who are spiritual or religious just go, I don't know, that's God's business. Or that's the universe's business. I don't fucking know. And even if someone gave me an answer, why would that satisfy me? Like if some dude from the sky right now came in with a beard on a cloud and he was like, hello, Andy and everyone else, I am God. You can ask me any question. My first question would be like, why? How? What? That? Tell us the answer. And then if he was like, if he laid it all out and he's like, here's the answer. I've written it all down in a book for you and it's also in movie form and the audio is available for those of you who like to walk and listen. And I've made it all nice for you. It's very beautiful. I think it's really going to answer your questions. I would watch all of that and that would be all the answers to all of meaning and life and everything. And then I'd be like, yeah, but who made you? And then he'd be like, no, I am the center of the universe. I am everything. And I'd be like, yeah, but why do you exist? And he'd be like, because I just do. And I'd be like, that doesn't satisfy me. That's where I started. I started by, I just exist. I think, therefore I am. That wasn't satisfying to me. It's not satisfying when you, a god with magical powers, say the same shit. And so no answer that I could be given, like me personally, and a lot of other philosophers have come to the same realization, no answer that could be given to us would satisfy us. And so maybe the only answer that we need is like, whatever, I'm here, I may as well have fun. It's like that beautiful quote that I try and live my life by, the Oscar Wilde quote, life is too important to be taken seriously. Or as my spiritual coach Keith says, maybe life is just play. This is a playground, it's a sandbox, you can kind of do anything you want. You can commit the most heinous crimes and hurt people. You can go the exact opposite and be Mother Teresa and love the world and make people better and all of that. Do whatever you want. There are consequences for both of those choices and everything in between. People call that karma, but I just call it outcomes. But there are outcomes for those choices. Go fucking do whatever you want. And maybe there's some answer at the end of it. Who knows? But whatever. Just fuck around and find out. So that's always been the answer for me. Rather than trying to find some deep, all-encompassing meaning and purpose, I think that's just too hard. And so what you said, which is what I say to people when they're struggling to find out what goals they want to work on or what their purpose is or their meaning. I say, what would be cool?
I want to just jump in and make it a little bit more tangible because I think most people, I mean, me include, like one layer below that, the result of that is why are we doing anything? Not necessarily an overarching, why do I want to be successful? Why do I want a connection? Or why do I want to go out and get new romantic partners? And so they kind of think maybe it's more tangible for people to think about at that level, you know, really question like, why do I want money right now? And that kind of, because that's one step kind of downstream from purpose. And if you kind of go with what you're saying, you've talked about before, like it's like a curiosity, like you want to try things to see how they go, just to explore and know more about life.
The most beautiful framing of this, like life and everything that I've ever heard, is this, like life and existence, is consciousness exploring itself. We're basically here to try things with curiosity and see what happens and explore the universe and ourselves and everything like that.
Just tiny pieces of matter in some corner of the universe, the universe becoming conscious of itself.
Of itself, yep.
I think that's a pretty crazy way to think about it.
Yeah.
What percentage of matter in the universe is a brain that's aware it exists? An extremely tiny amount. So I kind of like that answer too. That consciousness itself is a really special phenomenon that is almost like divine in its own way,
Yeah.
and that kind of leads you to loving all conscious beings, or like all life, which is another kind of way to come back around to love in a nice way.
Yeah, there's a quote from the Buddha that I want to find. I'll trim the quote down a little bit. I won't say the full quote, but basically, rare is it to be born a human. Buddha said that. He said a lot more in that quote, but rare is it to be born conscious. You could almost think of it like that. And a lot of the time, we're so caught up in our own perceived problems, and I say perceived, I say that intentionally. We're caught up in our own perceived problems and how unfair the universe is, and it's not fair, and I'm not going to make it, and this woman said she had a boyfriend, and that hurts me, and all of that. And it's like, motherfucker, you have consciousness. Do you understand how rare that is? As far as I can tell, The Rock doesn't seem to have consciousness. Not the celebrity, but a Rock.
The Rock,
doesn't.
yeah.
Dwayne Johnson has consciousness, as far as I can tell. But a Rock doesn't seem to. This microphone doesn't seem to. My clothes don't seem to. The fact that we have consciousness and the ability to say, I am, like I think, therefore I am here, that we can look in the mirror and say, oh shit, that's me. That's the body and the mind that I inherit. Holy shit, that's amazing. The fact that we have seemingly free will and that we can make choices and own them, which I know can be a struggle at the start. But the fact that we have all that, my God, it feels like anything else that we do after that realization, the realization that I am alive and I have choice, anything after that feels like a fucking bonus. Like if we go the rest of our life and we never sleep with a single person ever, who gives a fuck? Holy shit, I got to do some cool shit. I got to choose which fucking flavored ice cream I eat when I go to the ice cream store. I got to choose what color car I have. I get to choose what clothes I put on me. I get to choose whether I'm a dick to someone or whether I'm nice to them. I get to choose whether I wave at someone or give them the middle finger. That in itself is an entire universe, an infinite universe of choices in every single moment that we are constantly making. And a lot of them are subconscious and not well thought out. Fine. But we could, if we wanted to, focus on every choice that we make throughout the day, every single one of them. And we could be grateful for every single one of them. And if you live your life like that, where you pause enough to look at every decision that you're making and consciously choose to make it and consciously choose to be grateful for the ability to choose, that's enlightenment. Straight up, that is enlightenment. If you can be that present, and that takes practice, I am not there. I'll make that clear. But if you can work towards that a little bit more, holy shit, dude, that's enlightenment. Just walking around going, I'm grateful to be alive. That's enlightenment.
It's a good place to go after goals from. That kind of talk about a nice starting point, because that was an incredible that was another like life-changing exercise for me right at the beginning. You told me, like, imagine your life where your worst case scenario, quote unquote, where you have no woman ever wants to talk to you ever again for as long as you live. What's the most beautiful life? What is everything you ever want to do in that life? And I wrote out like a long journal, and it was so incredible that I'm like, you know what, that would be awesome. And that was a very nice starting point to be like, well, maybe I can go after this, but you know what, there's so much there outside of this, and I could have an incredible life without this. That's a very beautiful place to start, trying to meet somebody from.
That's one of my favorite exercises when someone comes to me and they're like, I'm never going to fix my dating life, or I'm never going to build my business, or I'm never going to be happy in all of this. I say, okay, imagine you never, ever, ever sleep with another woman ever again. No one ever wants to date you. Women just don't want to talk to you. They all get together and 4 billion of them collectively agree, we shouldn't talk to that loser. Which, like, that's ever going to happen. Because then there'd be one woman on the planet who's like Eve in the Garden of fucking Eden from the Bible. She'd be like, I'm going to be naughty. I'm going to talk to him because that's like naughty and taboo. I'm going to talk to the guy that we all agreed not to talk to. And she'll go talk to him like Eve eating the fucking apple, right? That's a metaphor for human curiosity, obviously. But even if no one ever wanted to sleep with you ever again, ever, I love to get people to sit in that place. And the ego, the mind, the scared part of you doesn't want to. It's like, no, I don't want to even consider the fact that no one would sleep with me. Are you listening to me? I came to you to tell you that I'm desperate and needy for someone to sleep with me. And now you're telling me to imagine that reality? What is this? This is like the opposite of why I came to you. And I'm like, I know. Sit in it for a little bit. Walk me through it. What would you do? Like, imagine I just said to you, hey, every woman has agreed. They've all signed a petition. They're not going to sleep with you. And every new woman that's born, when she hits 18, she can't sleep with you either. Like, no one can ever. They've all agreed. They've all put it in writing. All the men are going to keep them accountable as well. And the world has collectively agreed not to fuck you. What would you do when I've just told you that news? And they go, well, I'd fucking cry and be heartbroken. Cool.
My answer was a little more crass, but you remember what I said. And I'm like confused. I'm like stunned. I'm like, well, I'd be doing a lot of something. I don't know if we're going to say it on YouTube, but yeah, something like that. You're like, that's not what I was going for, but I mean, probably I would. That's not so bad. I don't know.
And so then you sit there in that and you go, okay, so you jerk off to a lot of porn. Cool. What porn would you look at? And then you're like, why are we going down this pathway? And it's like, no, it's important. Go down this pathway. And any of you listening can do the same thing with a goal that you're very needy for and very attached and desperate for. Start running through the mental, I guess, imagination of what you'd do if you never got to achieve that. Like, how would you find, you're a human being, and human beings are adaptable and we survive. You would figure out what to do. You'd do something. You wouldn't just sit there crying on the couch for the next 50 years about not getting this. You might, for the next 6 months, cry. Like, fair enough. That would be you processing your emotions. Then what would you do? And it's like, well, I jerk off to porn. Okay, what type of porn? How would that be satisfying? You're like, no, it wouldn't. Okay, what would you do? And I think your next answer was I'd see an escort. Was that you?
No, then I started talking about, like, I like the outdoors. I would hike.
Yeah.
My relationship with my family, I would really focus on. My brother's like one of my best friends. We'd play video games together. I'd play tons of video games. Like, I just started listing, we can talk about later, but I'm really into my hobby. I would take that very seriously. I'd finish learning Japanese. And I mean, this sounds, okay, maybe this will sound ridiculous to people, but we joked about jerking off and porn and stuff. Like, try being grateful for that. Like, if no woman ever talks to you again, you're allowed to have orgasms still. Like, maybe a lot of guys are going to hear that and roll their eyes. I'm like, try actually being grateful for that. Like, you still have that. That's a part of life. Yeah, if they completely took the option off the table, like you're saying, of ever meeting a woman again, and you just go through that exercise of kind of being grateful for everything else and thinking of everything else, kind of brings you that peace there as well.
Yeah, you would have other things in your life that you could find meaning and joy in, like a lot of things. I do this exercise with a lot of people when I can tell that they're really desperate for their goal and it's bringing them a lot of pain and suffering and it's hindering their ability to take action and actually achieve the goal. It can become counterintuitive for a lot of people, a lot of you listening, that you're so needy and desperate for the goal that it's actually getting in the way of you doing the steps that are required to work on the goal. Like, if you go outside to talk to women, you talk to one and she says, I have a boyfriend. And then you're so hurt by that. And like, you take it so personally that you then don't want to go out for another week. You can see how that is getting in the way of you talking to lots of women. But with the proper framing and contextualization and all of that, if you went out there with no expectations and just curiosity, and she says, I have a boyfriend, you'd be like, cool, that's great. I hope you guys are happy together. And she'd go, wow, thank you. You're so nice. I hope you're happy too. And then you go, cool, I feel good now. All right, where's the next woman that I want to talk to? You go talk to another woman. You feel good after that one. Then another woman. Before you know it, you've talked to like 15 in that one day. You're like, wow, that was so fun. I didn't get any phone numbers. You will if you approach 15 women. I got 1 or 2 phone numbers. I didn't get any dates, but wow, that was nice. Okay, tomorrow, I wonder if I can go make 15 more women smile and they'll make me smile. And then you just want to go outside. And then the next day and the next day and the next day. Then you get some friends come out with you because you're doing this beautiful, fun activity rather than this shameful, pain-filled, suffering thing that you don't want to drag someone else along to because why would I make them suffer too? And so the whole process becomes a lot easier and you take a lot more action when you actually enjoy the damn thing. Like, it's such an obvious statement, but I'm going to keep repeating it in this podcast because we do forget it. And we think that pain, misery, suffering, fear, anxiety, shame, guilt are the ways to succeed, but they're the barriers to success. And so part of how we get to that point of joy and abundance mentality is showing ourselves that we have an abundance of other options if this goal doesn't pan out. And I promise it will. If you just sit there and work on your dating life for as long as it takes. For some people, that might take 2 years. But 2 years is not long in the context of your life. That's like, fuck all. Dude, I cannot tell you as a content creator how many times a week someone says, I'm 30 and it's too late for me. It's like, so you're going to wait for the next 50-something years to die when you could just put 2 or 3 years, and it won't even take that long, but put 2 or 3 years, or pay me for coaching and do it in 3 months into this, and then you have the rest of your life to enjoy. You're saying, like, it's too late for me, but I'm not willing to take 2 or 3 years to improve it. And again, it won't even take that long. But we feel like it's too late. You got 50 years left. And even if that was true, if that premise is true and it's too late, and like you're like, I'm 30, which is not even fucking old. But like, I'm 30 and it's too late for me, or I'm 40, or I'm 50 and it's too late for me. Okay, great. It's too late for you. You're not going to work on dating. You're not going to get a girlfriend. Cool. What do you want to do to be happy? Do you want to go hiking? Do you want to go do some hobbies? Do you want to go hang out with your friends? Do you want to give back to the community? That's a great way to feel good. Do you want to build a business? Oh, that'd be exciting. Like, what are you going to do to enjoy the next 30 years? Fine. If we accept your premise, it's too late. Cool. Go have fun. Go do something. It's too late. That's one less thing you have to worry about now. Cool. You don't have to worry about dating. You don't have to worry about improving any of that. That's fun. That frees you up. Go play video games. What video games are you going to play? There's a whole lot of beautiful ones out there that will genuinely change your life, genuinely have a positive impact on your life, and you'll probably go around looking at the world completely differently. A really good one to start with is Spiritfarer. Another 2 ones are Talos Principle 1 and 2. Any of these sort of games that genuinely have a positive, incredible impact on your psyche for the rest of your life, play them. That'd be fun. There's lots of video games. But we get very stuck in like, it's too late for me, I can't change, and so therefore I need to be unhappy. It's like, that's a giant leap to go, it's too late for me and I can't have this goal, so therefore everything else in my life is a failure and it's going to suck and I can't be happy in any other way. You're basically saying it's this or bust. It's do or die. I either get a great dating life or I'm unhappy. It's like, motherfucker, you're a human being. There are hundreds of millions of things human beings can do to find meaning, joy, happiness, peace, love, all of that. It does not just have to be in a sexual partner. And I'll be the first person to say sexual partners and intimacy and relationships are beautiful. It's a great expression of human creativity, connection, intimacy, all of that. But that's not like the only thing there is, the only option or choice you have for happiness. And so if I can get people to realize that, like I did with you, and say, what would you do in your life if you never achieved this dating goal? And the mind resists it and you go, no, I could never be happy. But if I can get you to shut the fuck up for half a second, and I think I even said that to you, probably gently. But it's like, if you just shut the fuck up for half a second and stop saying, I can't be happy with it. It's like, shut the fuck up. And sometimes I'm gentle with that. But sometimes I'm like, bro, just like try shutting up for half a second. And if you actually shut the fuck up and think, other things will come into your mind. You go, well, maybe I could go hiking. Maybe I could play video games. They're kind of fun. I like video games. Maybe I could go and start a business. That would be pretty meaningful. There are people that have gone their whole life without sex. Mother Teresa being a good example. They seem to live pretty fucking happy lives. There are lots of guys that were like, quote, incels their whole life. They just never figured out women, and then they just build businesses and invent shit and do cool shit. Or they just help the community. They do something very small and humble. I'm just going to feed people at the local soup kitchen for the next 50 years. That'd be nice. I'd meet some cool people. I'd probably feel good about myself. People would probably like me doing that and compliment me. Cool, I'll do that. And so it doesn't have to be the one goal that you have. Otherwise, you're going to be unhappy. There's more to life than just that.
And also, because I did this and I see a lot of other people doing this, it puts extreme pressure on yourself when you're kind of wagering your entire happiness for the rest of your life on just this one thing. That's also a very unpleasant place to work your goals from. Like, because I was like, I remember like, even like getting short with you, I'm like, no, I will do whatever it takes for this goal. I have to succeed at this. Like this really extreme, fatalistic. And just like, why are you, I don't remember exactly what you kind of said, but it was communicated to me that like, just take this pressure off yourself. Like that's not helping you. You're just suffering. It's not even true. That's kind of the whole gist of this. Like your whole life is not hinged on just this. You've kind of invented this extreme condition. And it did, kind of like going back to the guilt stuff, it did spur me to action. it did spur me to do this, that kind of extreme, I have to fix this now. So if you're out there and feeling that way, you can use that to push yourself into this. And you're allowed to learn along the way, oh, actually, it wasn't that crazy. Actually, my whole life didn't depend on this. And that's a fun, nice surprise along the way that then just makes it even easier. But it's okay to feel like that at the beginning.
Yeah, I think it's pretty common. Like, to be very clear, we've said this a couple of times. Guilt, shame, fear, incredible pressure on yourself, all of that can help temporarily. I'm not saying those things are bad. I think I've made that pretty clear, but people sometimes miss the subtlety of it. It's just that they're limited. Like, you have breakdowns when you're using fear, guilt, shame, anger, frustration, pain, suffering, misery, all of that. Like, you have constant breakdowns. You'll go up to a woman and be like, hi, you're cute. And she's like, oh, I have a boyfriend, but thank you. That was really nice of you. And you're like, fuck, this bitch is ruining my life. Like, I'm never going to get laid. See? Why? And it's like, she just has a boyfriend though. And you have all that pain, and then you take a break. And that's why so many of you listening, you'll start and then stop and then start and then stop and then start and then stop with your goals because of the frustration. And so guilt and shame and all of that, they're great motivation at the start, or they are the motivation that you might have at the start. But the quicker we can get you to a place of like peace and happiness and joy, and that's a process. Again, I don't expect people to just do it. I didn't just wake up one day and just, hey, I'm motivated and I'm beautiful and everything's great and I'm happy as I am and I'm just going to work on continuing to be happy. No, that was not me at the start. No. That's like called the pathway to enlightenment. People study that shit, spend their whole life working on it. I don't expect anyone to just go, I'm enlightened and peaceful and happy and present now. Yay, I did it. Maybe if you do enough LSD or something, which I'm not advocating due to YouTube's terms and conditions and community guidelines and all of that. But yeah, it's a process. But peace and love and joy and excitement are much easier places to work from. And so that's the point of this channel. It's the point of my coaching program, is to slowly work towards that. Let's start slowly working towards finishing up in this podcast. I feel like I could talk to you forever, but I'm curious to hear what's next for you. I already kind of know, but the listeners might want to know. You're in the coaching program for another 12 weeks. You've signed up for another set of, like, another round. What are you working on? What do you care about?
Well, I'm staying consistent on the dating. I'm definitely a slow and steady guy. That's how I enjoy working on my goals. So just keep meeting people and refining what I'm looking for and keep being honest and just kind of enjoying that process. But I feel a little bit freed up to, like I said, I've been lifting weights since I was 12, on and off sometimes, but I've just recently got back into it. I'm dieting right now, just trying to lose some of that fat I gained when I kind of stopped working out for a long time. It's going fantastic, by the way. Not suffering, not telling myself a story of how hard dieting is. I'm so hungry all the time. I am a little bit hungry, but I kind of feel that, and I think that's fat melting. That's me getting towards my goal. This is okay. And just, it's like a control test, because I've done a lot of dieting before, because I'm someone who tends to put on fat pretty easily. That's my sort of body type. And it's something I've been struggling with for a long time. So I'm doing it this time and like after coaching the first round, and it's a lot easier. So that's kind of a cool control test for me. That's some of the mindset stuff I picked up. Then I'm excited, to just keep working out and progressing that and get back to my sort of peak physical condition I had. And then on the business side too, I didn't really talk about, this is something, wasn't as big a goal for me because my dad we run a family business. So I'm pretty lucky in that regard. It's a really cool opportunity. I enjoy what I do, but it's sort of something I'd backburnered for a while. I just kind of help out there and work on this other stuff. So now I'm excited. We're going to be hiring somebody. For the first time in my life, I'm going to be someone's manager and work on kind of expanding our business, hire someone to do what I do on the software side. It's going to be really cool. I just interviewed somebody. So start building the business there, expanding for the first time, and keep going with the mindset stuff. Like I'm the number one fan of the Play to Win course. You have to get it. You have to use it. I wrote stuff in the group about guys, like, because we get it for free as part of coaching. I think you've even mentioned this in content before that I told you, like I went through it and I went through it really fast. And I was like, okay, that's good stuff in here. Like that's cool, but didn't really put it into practice. I just sort of listened to it like content, which has its value, but Then I went back and took it like super seriously, make detailed notes. I have a giant Word doc, like each broke it up into sections. I'd never gone back around to doing it again, just kind of trying to really drill this stuff in my head because Andy's really condensed down all this amazing stuff. And you need to almost kind of like re-expand it. You need to really study it and try and put it into practice. So that's something I'm a huge advocate of. I feel like if anybody does that, that alone is going to be really life-changing because that made a huge difference for me, trying to internalize and practice all those lessons. Like for me, kind of the one is named after like playing to win as opposed to playing not to lose. That was another huge realization that that's where a lot of my kind of negativity came from and pessimism about like everything, even in business. You know, my dad had told me, you're too like cautious and negative. Every job, you're always like, what if this one goes wrong? What if we end up losing money on it? This is going to be too hard. And he was always just like, why are you so negative about this? Like and I realized because I was instantly in my brain was, what do we have to do not to lose here? And I never made that connection till this. And if you start flipping your brain to, how can I win? What is the craziest, most amazing possible win? I'm going to talk to this new girl instead of, oh, it's another one who's going to reject me. She's really cute. Imagine if she really likes me. Like, that's a huge mindset thing. So I'm going to keep working on, because it takes time. I believe it takes a lot of time for this stuff to get really programmed into your subconscious, really sink in deep to the point that it becomes automatic. You have to do a lot of conscious work and kind of actively reminding yourself and living it and practicing it. And then I think eventually it gets so absorbed that you just wake up one day and realize your brain just automatically responds to things differently. And that's a really good place it's a handbook how to reprogram your brain. And you're going to really like how it works after. So that's something I'm still going to continue working on. But yeah, so I remember early in coaching, I asked you guys about like this concept of work capacity. Like I have all this stuff I want to do, but I'm so busy and focused on this one goal. I feel like there's no way I could go to the gym while also working on dating. Like I'm so stressed out about this. And you said, stop thinking about just how you are now. Like imagine in the future, that person's going to be better and just keep moving toward, you'll be surprised how much better you get and how much. So now it's like, not only am I going like hard dieting, training and dating, and now I'm also becoming a more effective worker, like all the same time. And early in coaching, I was like, this is impossible. How could I ever do that? Now it's like 2.5 months later, I'm just doing it. So I'm enjoying that expansion in capability and, work capacity with this stuff.
Yeah, so often in goals we say, but that mountain is too big for me to climb. There's too many steps that I need to do. I'll never be able to be that honest, or I'll never be able to get that many matches. It's like current you doesn't have to. That's future you who's going to be doing that. And your only mission is to work towards future you and slowly level yourself up one baby step at a time. And just trust that future you is going to be more capable, confident, more knowledgeable, and is going to feel more rational and stoic and less emotional. And he's going to be able, he or she are going to be able to handle setbacks, all of that sort of stuff. So trust that future you has this, and current you's only mission is to be good enough to handle right now. And if we all pause and take a deep breath and actually just focus on right now, we are capable of handling right now. The only time that we say we're not is when we start thinking about the future. We go like, but what if it gets worse? What if I don't know what to do? What if this problem happens? And we stress ourselves out. But if we say right now, in this exact millisecond, can I handle what is being given to me? Yes, I can. Okay. And that's all you need to do. Just handle this moment. Final question for you. If someone is on the fence about signing up for the big coaching program, what would you say to them?
I would say, I'm going to project a little bit onto them myself. I'm going to say, if you're out there, you can do it. You will surprise yourself. If you commit to the coaching, that amount of money also helps you commit. You just need to take it seriously. And in the beginning, you need to take it seriously, and it will be challenging. And if you just push through the first little while and you start that positive feedback loop and you see the changes in yourself and the results, that'll kind of kickstart you, and it does become easier. It really is. You have to give yourself credit. It is super hard at the beginning. So, you know, you just have to take that leap though. And I listened to the content for 2 years and listened to him tell me about coaching probably 500 times. And every time I was like, oh, that'd be awesome. I wish someday I would be that awesome that I could do that. I could be part of that elite club. And you can just do that like anytime you want. It's really not. And I guess you also don't idolize people in coaching as like untouchable superstar gods that are so much better than you. I'm not so much better than you. We're just normal people. I see inside the group, you're going to be astonished. You're going to join, and everyone's just going to be nice and normal. And people struggle with the most normal things. And people come into the group, and like me, I didn't have 10 threesomes. Like there are people in the group who do go super far and achieve kind of flashy, amazing things. But some people just come through and become really happy. And like my accountability partner, so he did. I mean, he did get a pretty cool achievement too. But I just want to make it feel more accessible, I guess, that everybody's welcome, everybody can join. And I would take it really seriously and think also the procrastinating stuff. I also played the game of like, oh, it's not the right time. Oh, I have to wait till summer. I have to wait till I should lose some weight first. Or, it's just, I'm, working on this. Just forget all that. The coaching will help with everything. So if you're stressed at work right now, that's a really cool reason to start because this is going to help a lot. So I would just encourage you to just take the jump, do the $200 call. And I think you'll feel this really like warm, inviting energy and no pressure. And you're like, you know what? This actually would be really cool. So that's all I do. I would encourage you to just pull the trigger if you're out there.
Hell yeah. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you sitting down with me for 2 hours. I appreciate you sharing, and I appreciate you as a person. And I'm really grateful that we get to keep working together for another, I think you got like 11 weeks left. I'm actually really excited. I think this is what you did in 12 weeks. I can't wait for the next 12 weeks.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. I had a great time.
Hell yeah.